Hi everyone, MJ here. Welcome to Late Night in Taiwan. Excuse me, I am just letting the notifications go out a little bit. And I think this is a little too high up. I kind of like it more like that. There you go. Some place to rest my elbow on. How you guys doing? This is MJ. We're from Taiwan. And welcome to Late Night, just a little informal talk show that I do sometimes. I'm upstairs in my home recording studio. And yeah, we're just going to have fun tonight. No, you're not too early. Board is lit up. Yes. Dean, how you doing? No, what I'm doing is just for the fun of it, just to have something to do. How you doing, Dave? How you doing, Dean? I had the condenser mic up here. Of course, I got the windscreen out of the way, but the condenser mic is plugged into the Ghost, and I thought it would be cool, you know, to have these meters light up. I got so much gain on the thing, I can put it all in the red. I could, I could absolutely deck it to the red. Doesn't hurt anything. It's not, that's not how to record it. But the microphone is so sensitive that if I turn the gain up all the way, listen to this. You see the meters don't go all the way off? Watch. I'm going to breathe. Watch. That's picking up like every ambient noise for 3 blocks in the neighborhood. That's how sensitive this mic is. Large diaphragm condenser mics, man. The only way to do vocals. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I just want to say hi to everybody. It's going to be interesting to see what we have tonight for viewer numbers now that we have the new kind of re-engineered Periscope, And yeah, it's going to be fun. So I want to say hi to everyone. Yeah, lately I haven't been on as much as I have in the past. I've been really, really busy. I've been doing work, recording and trying to catch up on sleep. Got family obligations. Got a lot of things going on, and it's amazing how we go from when we're young doing what we want to do. Hey, Mike, how are you? Nice to have you with us. We go from doing what we want to do to doing what we have to do, and it's just like it's not always easy. So I got my rum here. Before we go any further, I want to say thank you to my sponsor, ivideo.com.tw. We are actually using an ivideo.com.tw Wi-Fi box for the transmission of this live stream, and we are streaming to Periscope, YouTube, and Africa TV. I want to say hi to everyone around the world on all 3 platforms. Really appreciate you joining. Over here we have our other sponsor, TaiwanLive.tv. It's almost never updated because I'm lazy. But if you go to the new mic, if you go to the, well, it's sitting right here. I don't want to move it, but if you go to the website, you can find a late night on the menu. You'll find a page for the late night show, and it has there's a playlist of all the late night shows we've ever done. It's actually, I'm going to tell you something. It's embarrassingly cheap. It's a Tascam TM80, and they're really, really cheap. It's about a $40 microphone. It comes with a shock mount, and in the past, with my studio experience, I worked at a studio that we didn't even have any solid state mics. Everything was vacuum tube, except one day we got an FET U87 and I didn't like it. We had a bunch of U67s, I had 6 of them. Had New England's only other M49, we had a U48, all these expensive vintage German Neumann large diaphragm condenser tube amplifier microphones that are just unbelievable. So I got this one. I've got that background against. Of course, the Ghost console has legendary microphone preamps, and the EQ, it's incredible. It's 4-band, and the mid, upper, and mid lower bands have sweepable frequencies. Of course, they're parametric, and they have adjustable Q factors. But I gotta tell you, the mic pre's in this thing are out of this world. I plugged this mic in, and I was astonished at how good a cheap microphone is. I'm going to get another one so I can do stereo pairs, and I also want to do noise canceling arrays, back to back and one out of phase. So it's amazing. I'll post a picture of it in the late night group if you want. We have a group on the Line app for the late night show. So if you want to go over to TaiwanLive.tv and use the menu and pull down, go to late night show, and there is a QR code for the Line app that you can scan. It's a good bunch of people. So this is amazing. It says, welcome, Alitzeld. It's their first day on Periscope. Alitzeld, where have you been? Periscope's been around for a long time. I'm still astonished that there are people that are just discovering Periscope. But welcome to the show. Welcome to Taiwan. So it actually looks pretty good on Periscope. It's amazing because there's a lot of really good technology, but in my opinion, it's just being mismanaged. I think Periscope is as an example of a really technologically superior app that's been mismanaged. And I'm not trying to be cruel, but I just want to say that we don't have anything on Android that you have on iOS. We don't even have Sketch. We can't edit titles in Android. There's no drones, there's no 360. All the 360 videos that you see on Periscope are all iOS devices. It's bizarre. I've got an expensive Samsung phone here in my clamp, and I've got a 5S doorstop that I can do more stuff with on Periscope than I can with my other phone. It's just management decisions. Don't get me started about management decisions. Mike, how are you? Nice to have you with us. Fist bump to you too. Always a pleasure to have you with us. How's everything? Now, there's been a really interesting news story going on in Taiwan, and the Taiwanese know all about it. Our Taiwanese followers have been following it, but violence is an issue in Taiwan, and a really good illustration of that, excellent Mike, a really good illustration of that fact happened recently. A father asked his son to go get him some food from a vendor. It's one of the ones with the sticky stuff on the outside and the meat on the inside, right? You guys have seen that. And he told his kid to make sure that they add spice. He wanted hot peppers. Make it spicy. We say, jia la, add hot spice. So the kid ordered it, and he came home. And the father said, it's not spicy. And the kid said, but Dad, I told him. And apparently, it was like in the middle of dinner time. The place was busy. The guy forgot. He forgot. So the father, grabbed the kid, by the shirt, and he's like, I told you to order spicy. And the kid is like, Dad, don't you believe me? Don't you believe me? And he smacked the kid. Well, the wife was videoing this with her mobile phone, and the father didn't like that. So it is shocking stuff. So he started smacking the wife around, and he threw her out of the house. And I saw the video on TV. She's outside yelling, help me, help me, help me. My husband's hitting my kid and stuff. So it hit Facebook, and it went viral. Some of the local live streamers, one Taiwanese live streamer in particular has been talking about this a lot. He's really upset. And even the mayor of Taipei went to this guy's live stream. But now here's what happened. I got to be careful how I phrase this. But let's just say some Taiwanese gentlemen who form, let's just say a connected alliance, okay? They saw this viral story about how this father smacked his kid around and then ended up smacking his wife around just because his food didn't have the spice added to it that he wanted. So the next video that I saw on TV is this collective of gentlemen. So yes, maybe. You need to listen to what actually did happen to him. I think losing his job would probably have been a lot easier to take. 7 people got arrested for doing this. But the next video that I saw on television, I saw it tonight, was a wok on a stove of hot boiling peppers, and they opened some packages of powdered cayenne pepper, and they made this incredibly hot, spicy concoction. They went to the guy's house, they broke in the house, and they made him eat it. So I think he probably wishes he lost his job. Anyway, those guys got arrested. And, you know, say what you want, it's vigilante justice. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. But, yeah, I know, wow. But I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying, sound like Chris Rock. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I understand it, so. Yeah, no kidding. That's right, Dean. Yeah, that's right. He'll urinate in it or something, you know. So anyway, something in my eyes here. I'm always doing this. Yeah, and that crazy stuff. But you know, I love Taiwan, and don't get me wrong. I mean, the vast majority of Taiwanese people are really, really cool. But when they're driving, and even Jevons will say this, he'll no, I don't actually. He'll back me up, but Taiwanese, when they get behind the wheel, they kind of turn into animals. Road rage is a big thing here. But you do have to be careful what you do. The recommendation for foreigners is never to get in an altercation with Taiwanese because they always escalate. See, it's different. In the Western world, I've had guys mouth off to me and I knocked them one. And then they said, okay, all right, I deserve that. But in Asia, my experience has been some guy will do something to you, and so you belt him one. And then he belts you back because you belted him. But he doesn't realize you belted him because he started it. It doesn't work that way. Like, if you try to make it even, then they go, oh, well, you just did something to me, and they do it again. And then you try to make it even, and so it just escalates, and it'll escalate up to death. So, yeah. The vigilante thing doesn't work here. There's a famous, actually Michael Turton talked about this on his blog, there's a famous incident where at one of the night markets in Taiwan, where, the subway vigilante, okay, nah, you're talking ancient history, I guess. I mean, that's like 20 years ago or something like that, he shot a bunch of people. Anyway, at the night market in Taiwan was known for having a lot of gangsters anyway, quite frankly. But there was a guy, a Taiwanese guy, that just had a BB gun, and he was shooting at foreigners because he figured they wouldn't do anything, apparently. And so he shot this foreigner, and it hit him, and the foreigner looked over and saw who did it. So he walked over and confronted the guy. Big mistake. And the BB gun case was lying there on the table, so he picked it up and smashed it over the guy's head. Okay. Well, someone in the Western world may have said, okay, I guess I deserve that. Yeah. No, he went over to his car and got a real gun. Then he was going to shoot the guy. And so apparently the foreigner had enough wherewithal to follow him. And then this guy must have been the Steven Seagal of Taiwan or something, because he disarmed the guy. And when the police came, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, the police were unable to determine whether the gun was real, so nobody got charged. Well, there's one way to find out. Tell you what, come over here and let me put it against your forehead and pull the trigger and we'll see. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, you get the point. It was kind of stupid. But anyway, I personally don't have run-ins with Taiwanese. I've only had like one Taiwanese kid kind of get smarty with me, but the run-ins that I have here are with Vietnamese punks, these young 20, 22, 23-year-olds that, you know, the first time out of their country, they think they're rich. They get 20,000 NT in their pocket every month, and so, yeah. No, they are. It's getting worse. Getting worse all the time. And there's one place that I go to, actually it's Win-Win's, and I told the guy to shut the door, and he took a puff of his cigarette and blew it in my face. The guy's like up to here on me. You know, I mean, I could have put my arm underneath his crotch and picked him up and dumped him on his head with one hand. I mean, what are you doing? But I'm not a violent person, so I didn't do anything. I don't believe in returning evil for evil. I will defend myself, but I'm not going to, you know, because the guy blew smoke in my face, I'm not going to bust a chair over his head or something, but other people would. And it does happen. All right, for those of you who just joined, this is kind of a bizarre conversation. I'm sorry, but my name is MJ Klein. I am officially retired, as in not working. No, it's not. But violence isn't worth itself anyway, okay? Because it always ends up being violent. You know, it doesn't solve anything. I'm an officially retired in that I don't have a job. I'm not employed. I'm an officially retired. Gosh, what am I? Entity. I'm a former national and international recording artist from the U.S. I was on the U.S. national playlist, and had a U.S. national talk show. I'm a broadcast engineer. I'm a recording engineer, producer. Also, I'm a manufacturing engineer, and I'm an inventor. And so that's what I do. And now in Taiwan, I invent things, and my wife has a manufacturing company, so I invent them, and she makes them. It's pretty cool. But I've got, you know, a home studio, and I'm working on a new album, and I haven't actually released anything since 1997, so it's been a long time. I've been having fun. You know, the thing is, I used to have keys to the physically the largest recording studio in Boston. I had keys to the studio for, gosh, 20 years or something, a long time, 15 years. I had unlimited studio time. All I would have to do was just buy tape. I'd go down to the tape complex and buy, you know, reels of 2-inch tape. And we don't get SNL here. And so, you know, I'm used to just going in the studio and trying stuff because it was my own expense. I had full backing of the never heard. I'm assuming it's a female. Never heard of her. I'm assuming that it's a female from the name. So I, you know, at my own expense, I would just do the tape and so forth. You know, Mike, I don't care. Thanks. I don't live in America. I don't care. So the thing is, right, is I'm used to being able to, used to having the ability to experiment. I just bring people in, hey, play this for me, and come in, you know, play drums for me and stuff like this. So, you know, I did a lot of pre-production, and that's what I'm doing now. I spent the last 3 months using my digital recorder as a scratch pad to do a bunch of pre-production stuff to kind of narrow in on what I really, really want to do. And not everybody could afford to do that in those days because it, you know, it was expensive. But I didn't have to pay for the studio time. I estimate that in my life I've had somewhere between 60 and 70,000 US dollars of free studio time given to me by the owner, and it was incredible. So yeah, that's what I did. And that's how I'm used to working. I'm used to just getting my guitar, pressing record, and playing it. Because when you're playing it, you can't listen to it. You can't listen objectively. You're playing, you're thinking about the next chord progression and stuff. And so when you play it back, or you make what we call a work mix, just a quick rough mix, and you put it on cassette, and you wake up the next morning and you play it, then you go, oh man, what was I thinking? That stinks. It's terrible. but what it does is it makes you annoyed. And so when you get annoyed, then you go, oh, it should be like this. And that's what I've been doing. I've been making these annoying pre-production mixes. So now I've got 4 solid tunes that I know what I want to do. And over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to make a very concerted effort to finish most of those and do the vocals. Now I have a project going on here in the studio because, as you can see, I don't have a vocal booth, you know, like a place to sing vocals. It's a live room. So what I do have is some soft mass sound absorbers. So tomorrow I have a project. I've already designed it. I'm going to hang a frame, a V-shaped frame from the ceiling that I can clip my mass onto, right? So, hey John, no, it's not an API. How you doing, John? Wow, I haven't seen you for a long time. This is a Soundcraft Ghost. It's another inline console. But yeah, how you doing, man? My friend John Garrett. John and I go way back. John's in the movie business, and he does audio for film. Yeah, great to see you, man. And so, yeah, I was talking about Fleetwood stuff earlier and doing pre-production and so forth. But it's a V-shaped frame that I'm gonna hang from the ceiling that I can hang my soft mass. Basically, it's like a quilt, and form a V-shaped backstop for the for the microphone, you know, for the condenser mic. So, how you making out, John? Let's see. You're on. Yeah, you're on Periscope. Nice to have you with us. We're simultaneously broadcasting on Periscope, YouTube, and also Africa TV in Korea. So I want to say annyeonghaseyo to our Korean friends, not too far from where we live here in Taiwan. John, what have you been doing lately? John and I go way back, and you know, John is an interesting guy. I wish he was in Taiwan because I would like to interview him. Let me tell you a couple of things. I've only actually worked like on one feature film. I don't do film stuff. I do like, you know, album stuff. And John had 2 jobs that he has hired me on as an assistant, and one of them was a feature film that it starred one of my favorite actresses, Margot Kidder. That was in the 90s, and John brought me in that project, and I'm really happy that he did that. But it's too bad John can't tell the story. Gosh, I wish he could call me on the phone. I could hold the phone up, you know. But he worked on a documentary in Botswana, and that was, John, that was the early 90s, wasn't it? I remember he told me some stories, and I want to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you because I'm not sure if I got them right. You know, you hate that because, you know, after 15, 20 years go by, your mind automatically embellishes stories. But, oh, you're going to get blocked. You are going to get blocked. Yep, there you go. Last year, holy cow, 1990, you built 19 studios and 24 news desks just last year? Wow. Was that with Grady? Wow, that was fantastic. Yeah, John, let me tell one story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but guys, this is really cool. John was in Botswana, and if memory serves, it was something like 6 weeks. It was it was a significant amount of time. It wasn't just like in and out. But as I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, you know, being the audio engineer, he was traveling with part of the crew. They put they were studying the Bushman way of life, and how one of the things they wanted, that the researchers wanted to know, is how do they know where they are? How do they navigate? Because, you know, it's a featureless land, you know, of course, to us. And so, as I remember John telling me the story, and I'm glad he's here. So, Wow. Okay. Oh, cool. Wow, that's great, man. Glad to hear you got some good gigs going. That sounds like a lot of fun. But that's a lot of work in that short period of time. Holy cow. Anyway, so John wanted to sit in the back with the Bushmen, because what the idea was, they took him in a truck and they drove him a certain number of kilometers away and dropped him off and said, okay, you guys, find your way back home. And as I remember John telling it, it was actually easy for them, because John said that he went in the back of the truck so he could be with the Bushmen as they were talking, and he asked the translator to please give him a running commentary on what they were saying. And as I remember John saying it, they're going like, okay, well, that's where so-and-so stepped in the hole and broke his ankle and we had to take him back. And that's, oh yeah, see that tree over there? That's where we shot that antelope and it died and we had to drag it back to, to the village. And it's just like, what we would do, right? Oh, there's the Walmart, and, 2 blocks up is a red light and take a right. But it's like, it's that dead tree, it's that sinkhole, it's that, feature in the land and stuff like that. And so as I recall, John was in the back and the Bushmen were just going, oh yeah. And so they took him so many, John, not to say how many kilometers it was, they were taking us to rabbit country to hunt. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh, wow, that's cool. Here's another copy bot. We're going to mute this one. Gosh, I just hate these. I hate these copy bots, and I can't delete them from the burned video. But when they got dropped off, right? They knew how to go back. I remember you saying, John, that the expedition leader, the team leader, said, which direction is home? And they went like that, and he used his GPS, and he said, yeah, you're right. So they, knew where it was. That's my recollection. Rabbit country, okay. And they wanted to know how did I get that part right? They wanted to know how they navigated. So I would love to interview you on this. We're gonna have to do that. I have to set up I got my phone patched into the PC on my broadcasting software. I'm not using the broadcasting software. I'm just using my phone. But I'm hanging my green screen tomorrow for chroma key, so I'll be able to go back to doing my other broadcasts, from the studio. So anyway, let me tell you something about this console. I just want everybody to know. A good friend of mine, who is an award-winning producer in Taiwan, kindly gifted this console to me. He called me up and said, come over to my house. I did. I went over. And he said, I know you're doing tracking, and I know you need some good mic pre's and some good EQ and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I've had this console. I bought it new. I don't use it anymore. I don't do any more production, and I'd like to give it to you. And he wouldn't take any money for it. So I want to publicly thank him. His name is Mr. Huang. And yeah, there you go. So, oh, welcome back, John. I think you just rejoined. So yeah, there it is. He gave it to me. That's what friends are for. Yeah. I'll say, that's what friends are for. And so, it obviously looks a lot more expensive, than you might think. There's no automation. It's an older console. The software, when it boots up, it gives the software year. It's 1997, but it's vintage and it's Soundcraft. And even John will tell you, Soundcraft vintage stuff. It has the British EQ and it's 4-band, and the mic pre's are legendary. What's really amazing is the brand new series of Soundcraft consoles still bases their design, mic preamp design, on this one. The Ghost has legendary preamps. I mean, a lot of guys will spend money on like a Focusrite or a Neve or an SSL outboard, even API. Mic pre, sometimes they'll just buy 2 really expensive mic preamps in their studio so that they can record vocals and have a really superb microphone preamp. This thing has 32 channels. I got 32 mic preamps and it's got 8 groups. And so what I do is I have the group outputs on this console going over to the patch bay into my 32 track Tascam. And so, yeah, I can just route them to the groups, bring it into a line input and not use the microphone preamp inputs on the Tascam. And so that's what we're doing. Oh, John, don't tell Grady I'm recording, please. He doesn't know. I don't want him to know. I have this policy. Grady made me promise him back in 1980 that whatever I recorded, whatever I released, I would have to give to him. And I've kept my promise. But he doesn't know about this. I don't want to tell him till it's finished. So I'm still tracking. So please. I don't think Grady knows I live stream either. He hasn't ever run across my live streams, but yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. John, there's another story that you told me. And it's about Morse code. Can I tell it and see if I got it right? Do you mind? See, John and I are both ham radio operators. That's how we met each other. We met each other, I'm going to say 1989, I think. So, how much is it worth? Hi, Bella. That's a good question. Because of its age, of course, the value is down. I see these on eBay in not too good of condition with the power supply for about $2,000 US. If they're in good condition, they're a little bit more. But if you take it apart and you take all the PC boards out of the modules and you change the capacitors, because the capacitors dry out, and you change the ICs and the op amps to more modern versions, you can get $7,000 or $8,000 US for these consoles, but there's no automation. The mutes are MIDI automatable, and it does do SMPTE sync. It does have a computer, and it has transport buttons, so depending on the type of multi-track recorder that you have, if it has a SMPTE timecode or MTC, you can actually, record, playback, fast forward, rewind, and locate using these controls. And also with modern digital audio workstations, DAWs on PCs, if you have a multi-channel sound card, you can get, on the back panel is the patch bay. You can, using SMPTE or word clock, use this also to synchronize the multi-track recorder. So you don't have to have a separate remote control to start, rewind, and start and stop and operate the multi-track. You can do it from right here on the desk of the console. So that is a good feature, and in 1997 that was incredible. So no, you can, yeah, absolutely. No, it was fantastic. He was amazing. He also gave me a patch bay too. He gave me a patch bay, and I got to tell you what else he gave me. And John, you're going to love this. He gave me two. I don't know about that, Mike. I'm just old, done a lot of stuff. John's pretty smart. You telling me? Yeah. Ask John some stuff, okay? He gave me a Taiwanese electrical engineer built this monster. I'm telling you, this thing is a boat anchor, but not because it sucks, because it's huge. A monster stereo power amp, he gave it to me, and two of these vintage AR monitors, the big ones, the one that has the woofer in the center and the dome tweeter on the top. And the detail on these things, they're sitting right over here. The detail on these things is out of this world. I love it. So I have it connected to the Ghost. So what I can do is when I'm tracking, I've got my little Tascam near field monitors over here that I use. They're really flat. They're inexpensive, but they're very flat. But I also have, the inputs of the Ghost on the patch bay too, so I can patch my monitor output over here and just I can send the monitors to this Monster Power Amp and over to the over to the ARs. Yeah, see, John knows AR because that was a joint cooperation between Boston and the UK. All right, now let's get back to this. John and I have many things in common, and one of the things we have in common is a love of Morse code. We both operate Morse code. John is an extra class ham radio operator, and he got his extra class license back in the days when you had to pass 20 words a minute Morse code proficiency. So he has the top class. He also has the top class FCC commercial license too. So, as I recall, and I'm glad you're here, John, he brought a portable rig. He told me that, and he showed me too. He went to the telecommunications ministry in Botswana and applied for a license. The thing about it is, when you have the top class U.S. license, you can go to a lot of other countries and show your license, and they go, oh yeah, we know what that is. It's the top class license, and they'll give you a reciprocal license or some kind of operating authority in their country, which is really cool. So John went to Botswana, and as I recall, he told me the story. They opened a book and said, here, choose the call sign that you want, and he chose the call sign. I chose no, he's not. He's not in Africa today. No, he's in the Boston area. And so he chose a call sign that has initials in it. John, what was the call sign? A22JG. See, John Garrett. Yeah, there you go. That's what it was. I was going to say that exactly. Okay, so far I got it right. So he's got a portable rig, and he was in his tent going da 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 da, right? Da 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 da, right? And so the Bushmen heard this beeping noise, and they asked him what it was. So now here's the story, and John's going to correct me. Gosh, I should just have you on. I should just have you on Skype and let you tell it. We can still do that. But they're asking, through the translator, they're asking John, what are you doing? And John's going, oh, man. Well, how do I explain this? They don't know about radio. So John's saying, okay, well, these beeps are a language that I am communicating over a long distance, and people in faraway lands can understand these sounds, and it's a language, and so they understand what I'm saying, and then they send me the same signals back. And so the translator is translating, and the Bushmen are going, oh, okay, we understand. And as I recall, John told me the story. He was kind of like, well, you understand that? You really understand that? And they said, of course, because they related it to drumming. You know, how many cultures, and especially in parts of Africa, they use drums to communicate. It's the exact same thing. Tell me that's not different. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference is the syntax, the lexicon, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just the language is different, but the principle is exactly the same. That's what I'm saying. So, John, did I get that accurate? Is that pretty close? I hope it is. Because I've been telling that story, because I think it's one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. That and the one about, you know, being in the truck and finding their way home. Boy, if this wasn't a time for a commercial break, I don't know what is. All right, so Late Night with MJ Klein is brought to you by iVideo.com.tv. .tw, something like that. Okay, gosh, these copy bots, something like that. So, well, let me put it to you this way. If they made that to a movie, would that have been embellished too far, you know, to be a movie? It's not a documentary, but yeah. Excuse me. Because even, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't a documentary, right? But yeah, something like that. That's cool. That must have been an incredible experience. So, at the bottom of it, this is a gooseneck, and at the bottom of a gooseneck is an angled bracket like this, offset by a set screw with a pad on the end of the set screw. So you turn it and it goes in and it just locks against whatever you've got it on. And the angled bracket is angled such that it'll work obviously on a square cross section like this type of broadcast boom, or it'll work on a round cross section like a regular mic stand. So that's how it attaches. So you just unscrew it, it pops off. I just got it out of the way because nobody's singing into it and it's not using it right now, but yeah. So one of the things that I'm going to do with recording some of the new vocal tracks is I'm going to take the other microphone and mount it directly overhead and flip its phase so it noise cancels all the common mode signals. And then what you do is you sing in the bottom mic, and then, like, you know, the bus going by, the dog barking next door, your wife, you know, starting the washing machine and all that, you can phase cancel it out. That's one of the tricks that you do. And that's one of the things you have to do when you're home recording, because, you know, I didn't have an extra 1.5 million laying around to, you know, to build a room within a room and have it acoustically treated. I'm not going to mix here. There's no way I can mix here, but I can track. And I can track pretty accurately, and I've been doing it for a long time. And, you know, the sounds coming out of the keyboards, the sound coming out of the guitar amps, and, you know, I know what they sound like. I'm recording them largely flat using microphone techniques. I'm not deviating so far away from the norm that I have to worry about it when it comes time for somebody to mix. So, is that snow? No. They can. Snow. Where do you see snow? That's the Yamaha. That's the Yamaha PA head. I got a Yamaha PA in here that I use for like live vocals as a drum machine. That's my AIO computer mounted on the wall. It swings out, but I got a Stream Deck over there and some other junk, little USB mixer, and there's a digital recorder out there. So gotta get a shovel now. Oh, you do? Gotta go shovel. Oh boy. How much snow do you have? I didn't realize it was that bad. Did you guys get like a big storm? John, take care. Really appreciate you dropping in, man. It's really good to see you. We'll have to get together, you know, and, you know, I maintain the U.S. phone number, so give me a call anytime. And what we could do, I would love to arrange to have you come on with me from my broadcasting software in the studio and do an interview. I'd like to talk to you about, you know, some of these things that you've done. You've done a lot of really amazing things, worked on some incredible feature films and documentaries and so forth. So, oh, it's a freezing rain though. Yeah, gosh, I know what you mean. You got to get the snow out of the way, because if the freezing rain gets on top of it, it crusts over and it's a big mess. I know what you mean. So, wow. Holy cow. Mike, yes, we did. 2 years ago, actually, in wintertime, it was the coldest winter in over 100 years. The last time it snowed, this place was Japan. I was at the High Life over in Jubei, and I was buying like just a bottle of water, and I heard somebody say in Chinese, "Wow, it's snowing outside." And I turned around, and it was this little tiny powder puffs. For me, I was laughing because the last place I lived was New Hampshire, and these little tiny powder puffs, which actually when I was in elementary school in Florida one day, in Central Florida, it snowed like that. And it didn't stick, but it did kind of collect in like nooks and crannies, like against the curb, you know, of the road and stuff. And the Taiwanese people were just fascinated. They'd never seen snow. I came out of the car, I went and my wife and daughter in the car, and I said, "Look at this, it's snowing." And they couldn't believe it. It was the first time that, of course, Phoenix has ever seen snow. Hui Zhen and I, my wife and I, had been in China, in Black Dragon Province, in winter. In fact, we've been there 2 times in the winter time where they had like 2-meter thick ice on the Black Dragon River, and it's huge amounts of snow. It's 48 degrees north there. It's above North Korea. That's not a big deal. You expect that, but here this is 25 degrees off the equator. This where I'm sitting right now is south of Key West, Florida, and so like, okay, imagine that you read online that Key West, Florida had snow. Yeah, it didn't stick. Yeah, you couldn't say it was even an inch. But anything coming down in the form of snow would be like astonishing. You would think, wow, what happened? The poles reversed or something. An asteroid came by. But yeah, it has snowed. Now, if you guys watch Jevons, one of my good buddies here in Taiwan, and a good friend and a follower, but he's also a fantastic Periscope broadcaster himself. Jevons is an avid mountain climber and hiker, and he goes up to a lot of places in high elevation. So the thing is, of course, as you know, elevation increases your chance of snow. So the highest mountain in Taiwan, which we call Jade Mountain, is higher than Mount Fuji in Japan. And so in the dead of winter, there's always snow up there, but you got to go up there to get it. And it's so treacherous that you can't climb that mountain without a mountain climbing permit. And in order to get a mountain climbing permit, you have to take a physical examination, and the doctor has to certify you fit to be able to go up there. There are other peaks there's a whole range up there. There are other peaks that are lower that also still have snow. So I have to ask Jevons if you got any snow pictures. But the season's not over. It's still only January. So we have like the dead of February. He can probably get us some good snow pictures and probably some good snow Periscope broadcasts. That would be fantastic. I would really love to see that. Now, apparently, Periscope has fixed their massive bot issue because we only have 49 viewers maximum. I've had a total of 6. The last 2 broadcasts I did, I had 12,000. That can't be right. I don't do anything to get 12,000 views. I mean, what am I doing? I'm just yakking. So yeah, the numbers for a long time have been fake. But Dave and I were talking about that. Now I know Dave has gone to sleep. See, it is now after 1:30 in the morning in Japan, so I didn't get a chance to say goodnight to Dave. But Dave, I know you watched the replay. Good night and welcome back. So, you know what? He is in fantastic shape. And he is a great climber. But Bella, you never met Jevons in person. I'm going to tell you something else. He's a very handsome gentleman in person. Way more so than you'd see in pictures like his Instagram. I mean, the guy, he's very modest. He doesn't do this very often, but every once in a while he'll be out somewhere without a shirt and he'll do an Instagram. Guy's got, washboard abs, right? But when you see a guy in person, his poise, his countenance, he's like a movie star. He is. He's really very kind and polite, always smiling, never raises his voice, never an unkind word, very tolerant, very generous. He's really cool. And he does his own hair. I asked him, "Who does your hair, man?" He said, "I do. Nobody can do it like me." So you saw that do he's got, man. And I think it's him. It's his signature style. So yeah, I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Jevons like 4 or 5 times anyway. A number of times. He does some cool stuff. Yeah. So we'll have to get him back up here. Or down here, because he lives north of me. But he's a business owner, works for himself, I got to invite him down. The thing is, Win-Win opened it's later this week. Win-Win's new play. I know. Well, a lot of ladies have tried. Trust me. Win-Win's opened up a new fried chicken and deep fried food stand. So you're getting blocked, baby. Yeah, block you. I can't stand this. Okay, they got rid of some of those other bots, but they didn't get rid of the copy bots. Periscope, what's wrong with you? All right, so you guys have seen that. We've had like 5 or 6 of these already. I should invite Jevons to come down, you know, for like the inauguration of the deep fried restaurant at Win-Win's. That would be really cool. I'd like that. All right, anything else on your mind? Anything else? Oh, by the way, what I've done too with the console is I've gone through and John Ho, how are you, bro? Good to see you, man. Give me a big hug. Come here. John Ho, another gentleman I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. Yeah, I'm upstairs. This is in my house. Oh, the guitar pick is good. It's all done. It's all done. It's invented. I've got several here. It sounds unbelievable. Yeah, if I set the little guitar amp, even with my phone, if I set the little Brian May guitar amp up here, so you would see it. The delay is long. There it is. It seems concurrent. I'm going through Streamlabs, but yeah, hug. Thank you, John. If I set the little Brian May guitar amp up right here and plugged it in and used the pick, you would definitely hear the crystal sound of it. It would be incredible. I don't want to bore you guys. I mean, I could do that if you want, but what I did was I searched and I found from a collector in Japan. Well, let me show you this. You guys want to see this? Let me show you this, if you don't mind. Give me 1 second. It's right over here. It's in the rack on the other side where the equipment is. Hold on. That's a really good question. Later this year, obviously. Later this year. Let me tell you this story. The story goes back to the very early 70s when Queen started. All the members of Queen are very well educated, and John Deacon, the bass player, was an electrical engineering student, and like all engineering students, they're always looking for stuff to tinker with, and he found like the PC board for a power amp for like this old car radio in the dumpster, and he mounted it inside a bookshelf speaker, and the bookshelf speaker, combination didn't have any controls on it. It was powered by an old-fashioned battery that you really can't get anymore. It had one input, so he gave it to Brian May and said, "Here, plug your guitar into it and see what it sounds like," and it sounded like crap. But Brian May always uses a treble booster. So he put the treble booster on, and then all of a sudden it sounded like magic. It was incredible. So starting from the very first album all the way to the end, Innuendo, and even the brand new stuff that he's doing, like even in 1995's song Business. If you listen to like the Fairyfeller's Master Stroke or White Queen or Killer Queen and all that stuff, all those guitar harmonies are done by this little piece of junk amp. And he named it the D-Key after John Deacon, the D-Key. It's a one of a kind. Night Audio Systems has duplicated it. Night Audio Systems has maintained it for Brian, but it's like, it's one of those things that you don't take out of the house. Like that guitar there, I don't take it out of the house because it's 1964. I retired it from the road. I did all my records with that guitar on the wall. I did all my records with that guitar, but I don't take it out of the house. Anyway, in 2003, Vox and Brian May had several meetings, and they decided to try to duplicate the D-Key amp. And through countless sound tests. Of course, a lot of the vintage components aren't available. Some of them were, like some of the germanium transistors were, but they were too expensive, and so they wanted it, you know, affordable. But they made a small amp that duplicates the D key, but it also has some other features. This is it. This is from 2003. It's called the Brian May Special, the VBM1. It's a tiny little amp. It's a 10-watt amp. But it has the treble booster built into it. And the cool thing about it is on the top is a jack that you can take the treble booster output out and put it into another amp, which is really cool because I have another Vox amp, and if I take the treble booster out of this and put it into the Vox amp, it's like the Brian May sound all over. Yes, it is. They're legendary. I mean, check out the Beatles, VOX, right? Check out the Beatles. I mean, all the early Beatles pictures, they had a Vox sponsorship. So the thing is the EQ on this, the tone control is active. If you put it straight up, it doesn't do anything. If you turn it to the left, it cuts the treble down, adds bass. If you turn it to the right, it turns the treble up and cuts bass. It's got a gain control and high-low switch. It has a recording output, which is great. You plug it directly into a console. That also has an external speaker output, so you can put it on a bigger cabinet. So, sorry about that, John. Anyway, if I plug this thing in, even with the mobile phone, I sit here at my desk behind the phone and take that guitar. That's a Brian May guitar. That's a copy of the Queen guitar. You probably recognize the shape. If I take that guitar and plug it into this amp, even with my mobile phone and not broadcasting software or USB injection into the phone, just the microphones on the phone, it will sound like Queen. Trust me. It's amazing. So, can't get these anymore. I found one of these in Japan. And I bought it, and I had it imported to Taiwan, and it's in mint condition. Look at it. It looks brand new. Look, there isn't a mark on it. It's white. It's pristine. This is gold piping on it. See the gold on the front? The logo's gold. Everything. Now, it blew a capacitor last week. I was playing it, and smoke came out. So I took it apart, and I found out what was wrong with it, and I fixed it. Back to normal. It works fantastic. So it is cute. It took me about half an hour to find out what was wrong with it, and then I went to the store, and like a day or 2 days later, I fixed it. So it's all fixed, and it sounds great. And I know what went wrong with it, and it was just a coincidence. It basically blew an anti-oscillation. It blew a capacitor that was across the VCC plus and minus to try to stabilize it at stabilize high frequency oscillations. All it was just a little disc capacitor, not even critical. I probably could have just clipped it out and left it, but I replaced it. So it's called the VBM1. So the question is, do you want to hear it? Did you key the cap store? I don't know what that means. So the question is, do you want to hear it? It's up to you. If you don't, it's okay. I'll just put it back. It's okay with me. And the cool thing, right, is you really can't see because it's dark, but the cloth, the grill cloth across the front is a real vintage. It's a really, really vintage sound, or really, really vintage shape. All right, let me do this. You're not going to see it. I'm just going to put it right here. There's a desk behind me. It's actually my workbench because I got to have a place to do tech work and stuff. I'm going to set this right here. I'm going to plug it in over here. So, oh, I see. Mike, do you realize that I'm in Taiwan? I mean, seriously. Because you talk about stuff like, you know, like I'm in Philly or something like that. So, okay, well, it is what it is. Let me do this. I'm going to plug this in. right, now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get a small guitar cable. And I'm going to get my number 4 radius guitar pick. I'm not going to show you my guitar pick because it's patent pending. Now, if I plug this into the input, turn the gain up, the gain switch on. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Hang on. I almost blew it up. I forgot something. I forgot something very, 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 very important. Hang on a second. Because the reason is it's 100 volts. And because it's 100 volts, I have to plug it into the hold on, where is it? Hang on. This one? I think it's this one. Hang on. Oh, I wasn't expecting to do this. See, Japanese line voltage is 100 volts. Come on, where are you? And it's I have to have a step down for it. So if I don't have the step down, then the Taiwan voltage is too hot. Okay, here we go. Now I got it. Sorry. All right. Japanese line voltage is 100 volts. Taiwan line voltage is 120 volts. So I have to use a step-down transformer. And I momentarily forgot that, but I didn't turn it on. I looked at the schematic, and it shouldn't hurt it. But the VCC is unregulated, so it might be a little bit too high. It might actually blow that capacitor again. I think the worst thing that would happen is it would probably just blow the fuse. Okay, here's the Brian May guitar, and I don't have to turn this up this loud. Okay, let me turn it on, and let me do this. Okay, that's it. Now, the clean stuff, right? You can get that real. Wasn't prepared to do this. Yes, please. Can you guys hear that? You hear that has a really like a sparkling, clear sound? Hear that? Can you hear that? Is it okay? Is it loud enough? That's kind of a cleaner sound. And if you take the gain button out, it's a little even cleaner. But you don't hear the treble booster. Hear how it's not quite as bright? Hello, is this thing on? Sounds like a coin because it's designed to, but with the guitar all the way up, it has that. Pretty loud. Hey Ken, how you doing? I can play pretty loud here now. So if you have something like Under Pressure, it has that you know. Now, what its primary function is for recording, up close miking. Thanks. Up close miking. Listen to this. Oh, you know what? Hang on. I gotta turn these pickups off. Listen to this, Killer Queen. My natural vibrato is a little faster than Brian May's. Now, with these two pickups, I can't really show you because I'm not set up. These two pickups are out of phase. This is a very famous, very famous tone. How's it go? Forgot it, but anyway. Yeah, so that's a very, very famous kind of sound. And these two pickups on, which what he does for 90% of his stuff, if you have like not, the guitar like not all the way up all the way, thanks, not up all the way, but like just where it's just starting to break up, you can get that. Crank it, then you can get the the solo. Anyway, that's ideal. So, yeah, this is really the guitar, the amp that he used for those old recordings, like White Queen, I forgot how it went. I really like this. I like that tone. I like the crystalline sound. But you can't get that sound unless you use either my new patent pending pick or you use a coin. Now, the thing is, nobody really knew it at the time, but because it's a vintage guitar, it was designed in '64, used vintage pickups and stuff. All this stuff is really vintage, and the super mid-range, like the 1K, 1.2 kilohertz boost on this amp, means that it has such a vintage sound that if you're not playing Queen, it sounds like another like really hot vintage guitar. Like, for example, you want to hear it like, you do a Boston tune on this thing, right? And it's like, all of a sudden it's not Queen. And there it is, I mean, really, that's it. Me too. Well, now I'm not like this. I'm really kind of shy. But I get this feeling whenever you walk by. I don't want to down you. I want to make you high. If you can see a way to me, come on and let me try. Let me take you home tonight. Mama, know it's alright. Let me take you home tonight. I'll show you sweet delight. Yeah, it does sound good. Thanks. No, it ain't me. It's the guitar, man. But yeah, it sounds a lot like it. And the other thing too is this guitar over here, because it has the old vintage Gibson humbucking pickup, even in this amp, it can sort of get a Queen-esque sparkle, but I gotta tell you, that guitar there does the Boston sound like you wouldn't believe, you know. And because the other thing too is you roll the tone control off of that one. Put the tone control back, it gets really milky. This one, the tone control, Brian May said he never used the tone control. This is tone control open. If I roll it back, and it's like, it's a little too milky. It's a little too muddy. But with this amp, and still with this guitar, it has such a vintage sound. So I love that. I love that that old stuff. Anyway, so I think that's enough of that. Thanks for bearing with me while I'm goofing around. That's a really nice tune. Let me take you home tonight. Our dear friend Steve in Florida passed away recently. Yes, I am. I absolutely am. I'm using my design pick, and it has that crunch. That you know who else used to use or still does a coin? A very famous guitarist. Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. A lot of people don't realize that. But he used the Mexican peso, which is why he gets that scraping sound when he's doing. Hear that? That if you use a regular pick, it doesn't get that chunk. Anyway, so yeah. That kind of crunch, you don't get that unless you have a coin or a specially designed pick to emulate that sound. I hear that. But the thing of it is you can't articulate with a coin because the radius is too high. But with this one, you can. You can articulate with this pick, so that's the reason I designed it that way. So yeah. But I was talking about our dear friend Steve from Florida, passed away. And Steve and I have a connection because he likes Brad Delp a lot. And of course, you know, everybody knows I met Brad Delp when I was 21. And he was influential in my decision to go to Boston and pursue a recording contract in the Boston area, which I, you know, did, and later became a fairly well-known producer in the area, you know. And my voice just naturally sounds like him. I can imitate him I can imitate. There's a lot of singers I can imitate, but my just natural voice sounds a lot like him. And so from the very beginning, you Steve and I really liked the same kind of music. So yes, of course they are and that's exactly. And so the thing is Steve always liked my sounds, and I want to do a tribute because according to his daughter, there's going to be a service for him in February, and Brad Delp committed suicide on my birthday. I don't celebrate birthdays. That's one of the saddest days. It's hard for me to get through it. And I bet you did. You did hear ZZ Top in there. The thing is, I want to do a tribute to Brad Delp and Steve at the same time. But I might not be able to make it through. I might have to stop. But I'm going to set it up. I've got the gear. I can do the background vocals with the TC Helicon. I have the backing tracks. There's a couple tunes that I want to do, and I'll see if I can get through them. One of the tunes that I know that Steve really liked was Amanda. Thanks. And the thing about Amanda is that it ends on the D chord. It's in G, right? It goes, babe, I'm in love with you, which is it's a nice segue for More Than a Feeling. So I've got a couple tunes planned. Let Me Take You Home Tonight is a really nice tune, but I don't want to do the whole thing. It's pretty long, and quite frankly, at 62, I do have difficulty singing 3 A's over middle C like I used to when I was 42. I could do it. If you listen to the recordings on mjk.asia, I was about between 38 and 40. Actually, the funny thing is, John was in my scope tonight. John actually engineered some of the vocals on at least one of the songs on mjk.asia. How Could I Ever Let You Go? He was in the studio, and he's a really good engineer. And when I'm in the studio in front of the mic, I can't press the buttons. I can't run the console. And John engineered those vocals for me and did a really good job. But I just I want to do that. I think I might do it just like I did tonight. And the thing is, even just with a guitar, with the TC Helicon, you can do the background vocals, but I don't want to go back to the let me take you home tonight. I won't do that whole thing, but I have some MIDI files, and we can use some background files for that too. Now the interesting thing is, I want to find out later. I want to see if I get any. You're absolutely right. What I loved about Boston was it was a rock band, but they had fine art vocals. So many bands did not have fine art vocals. They had hackers. They had what we used to call the Budweiser Winston voice. Guys could barely sing, couldn't hold a tune. There's no technique, no singing, What I tried to do with my stuff was, if you go to mjk.asia, there's 9 songs there. You can just listen. You can draw your own conclusions. But what I tried to do with my stuff, a lot of it I sang like I was saying an opera. Singing a rock song, but I used, operatic techniques. Some of the other stuff I did, though, I was like yelling a lot, like Tough Guy, a song that I wrote about urban violence. A lot of that is really growly, kind of sound. But I Don't Want to Say Goodnight, there's 12 background vocal tracks on it. Very Queen-esque, so, I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. Jimmy Page may not have been the most articulate guitar player, but he really wrote some cool stuff. Syncopation was there, I haven't played that for 30 years. vocals, man. Well, okay, you can say what you want, but Robert Plant did hit the notes. And if he's guilty of anything, maybe it's he went on a little too long when maybe he should have retired. Because, like John used to say, you're only as good as your last record. You're only as good as your last movie. And so if you quit when you're, still up, then it's cool. That's how I remember. But if you go out, and you're rolling down the ramp in the wheelchair and you fall over, that's what people remember. So, but the brilliant stuff. And the harmonic, where he's not even fretting it, just brilliant stuff. So, and the whole thing with Stairway to Heaven, and there's actually a YouTube video that talks about the missing beat. Stairway to Heaven doesn't even actually have a meter to it. It's really interesting, and the chords that he used, like, sorry, the way he did, really, really interesting chords, You can't see it. There's a 12 string over on the wall. If I play Stairway to Heaven on that thing, then you really get to hear the genius of the song, because where it goes to the, you can't really appreciate that till you hear the doubling effect of the 12 string, the octave strings on the particularly the G and the D strings. So yeah. Well, thanks, Mike. Thank you. I've been playing for 50 years. I saw Led Zeppelin at the biggest show they ever played, May 5th, 1973, Tampa Stadium, 50,000 people. I was 16 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and check. 16? Yeah. No, 17. And yeah, I was there. Great show. Anyway, so I really like this guitar. And the funny thing is, I'm going to tell you, I've had this over here, this 64 Epiphone. I got it in 1979. I was playing with a showman as a beach music band. I broke my 1954 Les Paul Special, and I picked this up. And it looks like a piece of junk. It was heavily modified when I got it. I modified it even further. It has filters and stuff in it that just don't have from the okay, thanks, that you just don't have. But let me tell you a story real quick. Me and Jack Morgan were in the studio years ago, and he was cutting a guitar solo. He used to laugh at me, "Boy, you play that piece of junk. Go get you a nice Les Paul or something." I go, "Dude, you don't understand." He broke a string, and he came in and said, "Thank you, Ken. Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by." And he broke a string, didn't want to change the strings. He goes, "Look, let me just play your guitar and finish the solo." I said, "Okay." He picked it up, played it for 10 seconds, and said, "Now I understand why you love this guitar so much." Now, when I first came to Taiwan, I did not have this guitar here. I left it in the States. Big mistake, but I did. I brought another guitar, which I didn't like, and I sold it. When I was in Taiwan, I picked up this guitar. And as soon as I picked it up, I loved it. I can't believe how cool this guitar was, how good it sounded, and the action on it and everything, and the scale. Then I finally got this one shipped to, actually I went back to the States and I picked it up. I brought it back on a plane. I put them on a guitar stand side by side, and then it dawned on me, they have the same scale. I didn't realize it. That's why I like this guitar, because I've been playing that one since 1979. And when I picked this one up, it was it. It was it. Really? Have you met Rusty, his son? Yeah, no kidding. He's not too far away. That's cool. Yeah, so that guitar and this guitar have almost within millimeters of the same scale. But I keep pointing. but the action on that guitar is even lower than this one. If you can solo on this thing, you can shred and rip on that thing. That thing is like, you lay a hair across it, and it just, you can fret it. It's really quite amazing. It's an astonishing guitar, so anyway. That sounds very Queen, doesn't it? So killer Queen, right? Want to try? So that's it. No, I love this sound, you know. Anyway, so there you go. Guys, thank you so much for joining. We'll have fun. I promise you that in the near future, I will go ahead and hook this up to the USB interface. We'll use the broadcasting software on the PC. It will come to YouTube, Periscope, Aprika TV, and glorious, beautiful 24-bit stereo. And then we can put effects on it. We can do the vocals and do the whole thing. I got to do it, but I'm really busy with recording stuff. But the cool thing is, because I have the USB interface and the broadcasting software, I'll be able to play you some of the tracks that I'm doing soon, and you'll be able to hear them in 24-bit stereo audio also, which I think you would like. So it's my first stuff that I have, the first stuff that I have actually recorded since 1997. And a lot of it's rock stuff. I'm doing some ballad stuff. I even did a movie theme because I want to do some theme work. I want to do like, hey, if you guys have like, you know, some epic drone video that you would like for me to do a soundtrack to, send it to me. I'll get you something in 10 days. We'll do a 10-day turnaround. I love doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks. I'm just goofing around. We can, you know, if I practice this stuff, I'll get better. But I almost want to show you a little bit about what it. I'll tell you what I can do. Let me show you. I'll give you a little teaser. I've got it recorded. Drums, keys, guitars, everything. I always believe that if you've got a hit song, all you need is an acoustic guitar and a mic. You can tell a hit, whether it's a hit or not, just by listening to somebody sit and play it. If you need 1,000 tracks of production to prove the point, then you don't have a hit. The 1,000 tracks of production will make it a monster, but you should be able to sit down and play a guitar and do like, you know, well, I'm not like this, I'm really kind of shy, right? And be able to tell whether it's a hit. So, hang on. So one of the choruses of my new tune, I got a tune called Do You Believe Me? And I'll just give you a little snippet because it's in G. The chorus is, of course, in Rotha minor, E minor, and it's do you believe me? And do you still need me? Or at the end of my life, will I find myself alone? Do you believe me? I only want to be with you for the rest of my life. With you as my wife, I don't have to be alone. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do is give you a little bit of a snippet. And you'll get to hear the real song soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I don't get a chance to do this very often, just goofing around on guitar. So I want to say 再见, 谢谢你们. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching my live stream, and we'll see you next time. Good evening from Taiwan. So yeah, I do have an ear for music. There's nothing I could. I mean, it's obviously, yeah, because it's my profession. What the buttons I gotta move that over. The buttons block that last word. What does what mean? Hang on. I'm sorry. I want to answer this question. I'm not going to press the button. I'm waiting for the. What does that mean? Oh, an ear. You mean what does have an ear for music mean? It just means you can hear the tones and the intervals, and you understand the mathematical relationships. My daughter does. My daughter's 6 years old, and she hears. She sings songs. She hums them all the time. And she'll stop humming a song or singing it, come back 5 minutes later and sing on the exact same pitch. She's got it. That's what it is. You have an ear for music. Like, I'm terrible at, like, art. I can't paint. I can't draw because I'm not visually oriented. I'm not orally oriented. My daughter is like that. And so she can do that. So, guys, take care. Thank you so much. And we'll say good night. And let me put this in here like this. This will be the headstock of the Brian May guitar in the Periscope thumbnail. Thanks so much for joining from Taiwan. Good night. Zaijian. See you next time.